What's going on, everybody? Welcome to my Abyssal Sire gear progression guide. In this video, we're going to talk about all of the gear that you could eventually progress to, or just see what kind of best in slot setups there are out there. So we're going to go through a few of them for this one: magic, ranged, and melee. And your ranged and melee are also going to feature the phase 2 and onward for the Abyssal Sire. Additionally, if you are looking for a complete Abyssal Sire guide, you can find one at the end of the video on the end screen in the form of a card, or you can also jump right to it with a link in the description below. Getting started with this gear progression guide, we are going to check out the magic gear progression for phase 1 of the fight. During phase 1, you will only need to stun the Abyssal Sire and attack the respiratory systems. The respiratory systems have a magic level of 0, meaning that they have a magic defense of 0. So the only thing that you're going to be concerned about is magic damage here. In the helmet slot, obviously, the Abyssal Sire is a Slayer only boss task, which you will need to have a Slayer task for. So you will be using the Slayer helmet imbued or the Black Mask imbued if you don't have a Slayer helmet. As far as everything else goes, like I said, you're only going to want to have damage. So if you don't have any of these items, you can just use your normal gear that you will be using, which we'll cover later in this guide. For the torso, you'll be using the Ancestral top, the legs, the Ancestral robe bottoms. As for the cape, you'll be using an imbued God cape. If you do have one, the Tormented bracelet will go in the glove slot. As for your weapon progression, the Sanguinesti staff into the Trident of the Swamp into the Trident of the Seas. Your amulet would be an occult necklace, and as for your ammunition slot, it would be a Rada's Blessing 4 or any other blessing. Next up is going to be our ranged gear progression for phase 1, and again, this will be for the respiratory systems. In the helmet slot, once again, a Slayer helmet imbued or a Black Mask imbued would be the lower option if you do not have the Slayer helmet. As for your chest slot, Armadillo is going to be your best in slot, followed by Blessed D'hide into Crystal Armor, and the Crystal Armor would only be used if you are also using a Crystal Bow, followed by Carols, and then if you have to go even farther than that, it would be Black Dragonhide. As for the legs slot, it will be the same progression for the legs as the torso. In your cape slot, you'll want to be using an Ava's Assembler if you have it, followed by the Ava's Accumulator. And if you don't have the Accumulator, you might as well get it because, well, you're 85 Slayer and you should have it by now. As for the gloves, Barrow's gloves will be your best in slot, followed by Zamorak bracers, and then Black Dragonhide vambraces. In the boot slot, Pegasian boots, followed by Ranger boots, followed by Blessed D'hide boots, followed by Snakeskin boots. Next up for the weapon slot is going to be the Toxic Blowpipe for your best in slot item here, followed by, believe it or not, the Crossbow. The Crossbow actually is pretty decent, but it does cost more than the Blowpipe, so probably going to want to use a Blowpipe. And last is going to be the Crystal Bow, once again, only if you are using Crystal Armor. In the shield slot, nothing because all our weapons are one-handed. As for the amulets, a Necklace of Anguish to start it off, into an Amulet of Fury if you don't have one of those, followed by an Amulet of Glory. In the ring slot, Archer's Ring imbued, followed by the Brimstone Ring. Your blessing will be the Rada's Blessing 4 into any other blessing. Once again, none of the weapons for this do use ammunition. As for the special attack, nothing. You won't want to use your special attacks. You want to save those for later in the fight. Keeping in line with our ranged gear progression, we're going to move on to phase 2 and onward. This is what you will use for the rest of the fight if you are choosing to use the ranged method. Helmet slot, once again, is going to be the Slayer helmet imbued into the Black Mask imbued, because you will need it for that plus 15% to ranged attack and strength. As for the chest and the legs, it is going to be Armadillo, followed by Carols, followed by Blessed Dragonhide, followed by Black Dragonhide. As you can see here, we have eliminated the Crystal Armor because you don't want to be using a Crystal Bow against the Abyssal Sire. In the cape slot, Ava's Assembler into the Ava's Accumulator. Gloves are going to be Barrow's gloves into Zamorak bracers into Black Dragonhide vambraces. Boots will be Pegasian boots into Ranger boots into Blessed boots into Snakeskin boots. As for your weapon, your best in slot will be the Twisted Bow, which actually sort of isn't true, and I'll explain why. Now, the next thing you will want to use is going to be the Toxic Blowpipe, and this will be with Adamant darts or better. If you are using Dragon darts in your Blowpipe, it actually will slightly out DPS the Twisted Bow. The Abyssal Sire only has a magic level of 200, which does not cap the damage and accuracy multiplier of the Twisted Bow. So once again, the DPS with Dragon Darts will be slightly better, but the Twisted Bow is considered best in slot because of the offset in cost. Using Dragon Darts in a blowpipe is incredibly expensive. In the shield slot, your best in slot will be the Avernic Defender, followed by the Dragon Defender, and obviously followed by any defender after that. As for the shield slot, this will only be used with your special attack item if applicable. We'll see that below. As for the amulet, Necklace of Anguish into a Fury, into a Glory at the bottom end. In the ring slot, Archer's Ring Imbued into a Ring of Suffering Imbued, followed by the Tyrannical Ring Imbued if you have neither of the two options I just mentioned. As for the ammunition, if you are using a Twisted Bow, Dragon Arrows obviously, followed by Amethyst Arrows, and if you don't even have those, then it could go down to Rune. If you are not using the Twisted Bow and you are using a blowpipe, it would be the Rada's Blessing into any other blessing. As for the special attack item, you'll be using a Dragon Warhammer as your best in slot spec weapon, followed by the Bandos Godsword into the blowpipe for heals, followed by Dragon Claws. You can also opt to use the Arclight for defense reduction if you don't have any of the other defense reducing special attack items, but it really won't help you that much as the defense reduction is minimal at best. Moving into our final gear progression, this is going to be our melee gear progression for phase 2 and beyond. Helmet slot, once again, Slayer Helmet Imbued into a Black Mask Imbued. As for the chest and legs, for the best in slot chest and legs, it is going to be the Bandos Chestplate and the Bandos Tassets. In the chest slot, it will be followed by the Fighter's Torso into a Justiciar top into any Barrows item plate body. As for the legs, the Tassets are followed by the Justiciar legs into any Barrows legs. In the cape slot, Infernal Cape is obviously going to be your best in slot, followed closely by the Fire Cape, and then you will have the Ardoin Cloak 4. For your glove slot, Ferocious Gloves will be your best in slot, followed by Barrows Gloves, followed by Dragon Gloves. As for the boots, it's going to be Primordial Boots, then Dragon Boots, then Guardian Boots into Rune Boots. As for the weapon, your best in slot item, if you land special attacks, is going to be the Scythe of Vitor. Make sure it is charged. If you actually do not land any special attacks, the Arclight is going to be better DPS on stab. Following this will be the Grazi Rapier into the Zamorakian Hasta. As for the offhand or shield slot, Avernic Defender, followed by the Dragon Defender, followed by the Rune Defender. For your amulet, you will be using an Amulet of Torture as your best in slot option, followed by the Amulet of Fury, followed by an Amulet of Glory. In the ring slot, you'll be using a Berserker's Ring Imbued for best in slot, followed by a Ring of Suffering Imbued, followed by a Ring of the Gods Imbued, followed by a Treasonous Ring Imbued, and this would be for stab bonus if you have none of the aforementioned rings and are using an Arclight. As for your ammunition slot, this will be a Rada's Blessing 4, followed by any other blessing. Last, our special attack weapons. First is going to be the Dragon Warhammer, followed by the Bandos Godsword, followed by Dragon Claws, followed by the Arclight. Now, the reason the Dragon Claws are above the Arclight in special attack is because you will actually achieve more DPS by using Dragon Claw special attacks over the Arclight special attack for that minimal defense reduction. So that is going to do it for this Abyssal Sire gear progression guide. If you are looking for example gear setups, they will be found in the full Abyssal Sire guide. This is basically a gear refresher video for people that may know how to do the Abyssal Sire, but might have forgotten what gear that they should take. So they can come to this video, check it out, and be on their way. Once again, if you are looking for the full guide, please check out the link in the description below, or at the end of the video on the end screen, there is a card that you can click that will also take you there. As usual, everybody, thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please leave a thumbs up down below. They really do help the video's popularity. And if you'd like to support the channel, please tap the subscribe button on your way out. I will see you guys on the next one. Take it easy, everybody.